Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're launching a forensic investigation into what might honestly be the most fascinating business anomaly of our entire decade. We're talking about the massive, yawning disconnect between artificial intelligence hype and actual, tangible business profits. I mean, we hear about AI absolutely everywhere, right? But when you look closely at the balance sheets, well, things start to look a little different.
I want you to consider this scenario for a second. Imagine a business that drops $1 trillion on a magic trick. But when the smoke finally clears, the hat is totally empty. Right now, every single major tech giant on Earth is pouring astronomical sums of money into artificial intelligence. But the ultimate question we have to ask is, where are the returns? We're currently witnessing a situation where the so-called business case for AI is starting to look less like an inevitable industrial revolution and a whole lot more like a very, very expensive science project.
Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our visual docket of evidence we'll be examining today to cut through all that marketing slop. We are going to cover 1, the financial black hole, 2, the 96% failure rate, 3, the hallucination tax, 4, hitting the scaling wall, and finally 5, surviving the hype cycle. Starting off with Section 1, the financial black hole, where we'll explore this massive trillion-dollar disconnect. To really grasp the gravity of this black hole, you have to look at the sheer scale of the financial losses. Things are getting so incredibly tight that OpenAI recently started testing ads inside ChatGPT, which is largely seen as a desperate last resort. Why? Because leaked internal documents reveal they're on track for a staggering $14 billion loss in 2026. To put that into perspective, that is 3 times worse than their estimates for early 2025. The burn rate we're seeing here is absolutely spectacular. And here's where the math gets genuinely terrifying. 1%. You see, OpenAI brings in roughly $13 billion a year in revenue. And hey, that sounds great, until you realize they're committed to spending over $1 trillion on infrastructure over the next 8 years. That literally means their current revenue covers barely 1% of what they've promised to spend. But it's not just OpenAI. This massive financial drain is rippling across the entire industry. Microsoft, which is OpenAI's closest partner, saw its AI investments lose $11.5 billion in a single quarter. Because of numbers like these, confidence is starting to fade at the foundational level. Even NVIDIA, the company quite literally selling the shovels for this AI gold rush, is becoming cautious. They are now outright refusing to commit to further $100 billion funding rounds without taking things one step at a time and demanding actual proof of concept. Moving right along to Section 2, the 96% failure rate. AI versus real-world tasks. So where are all the profits? Well, the missing money starts to make a lot of sense when we evaluate how these systems, which some researchers are actually starting to call idiot savants, perform on the job. To measure this objectively, a recent study introduced the Remote Labor Index, or RLI. They took top-tier AI models and tested them against real, paid human freelancers on Upwork. And we're not talking about asking it to write a quick poem here. We are talking about actual professional work, graphic design, audio engineering, and architectural drafting. And the data brilliantly illustrates the problem. The outcomes were completely abysmal. When tasked with producing work of acceptable professional quality, the AI failed 96.25% of the time. The absolute best performer out of all the models tested was Claude, and it only managed a meager 3.75% success rate. Now you might be wondering, what did those failures actually look like in practice? Well, these models frequently submitted completely unmarketable broken work. We're talking about corrupted data files, abruptly truncated video renders, and architectural floor plans that just entirely ignored the supplied human sketches. This is the stark reality behind all those glossy marketing promises. Which brings us to Section 3, the Hallucination Tax, and the truly hidden cost of AI replacement. These technological shortcomings create a deeply personal corporate headache, known as the hallucination tax. So, what is it? It's basically the extra, totally tedious work that your remaining employees are forced to do to fix AI errors after a company replaces staff with automated systems. Essentially, the human workers left behind become full-time AI babysitters. And this is especially critical in high-stakes environments. For instance, medical staff are reporting that they fundamentally distrust AI systems right now because the software recklessly confuses doctors with the actual patients. That's not just a minor inconvenience, that is fundamentally terrible business.
Because of this tax, a whopping 55% of companies already actively regret replacing their human staff with AI. It turns out human interaction and oversight are still proving vital for quality and customer satisfaction. In fact, the research firm Gartner predicts that by next year, half of the companies that fired workers to implement AI are going to be forced to literally hire those humans right back.
Let's look at Section 4, hitting the scaling wall, and the current hardware crisis. Now, you'll often hear tech enthusiasts say, just wait, bigger models will fix absolutely everything. But honestly, that completely ignores what's known as the scaling wall. This is a brutal physical limit where feeding large language models exponentially more computing power and data simply no longer makes them proportionally smarter. For a long time, the golden rule was just bigger is better, but that scaling law effectively broke around the GPT-4 era. When subsequent models like GPT-5 were developed, they completely failed to deliver the massive exponential revolution that investors were promised. We're hitting a wall of diminishing returns. The absolute crux of this crisis really boils down to one staggering number: 40%. Even though these models aren't getting proportionally smarter, OpenAI alone has locked up an estimated 40% of the entire world's high bandwidth memory supply. Think about that. One single company consuming almost half the global supply just to keep their current systems running. And that insane demand has triggered a massive global RAM crisis. This memory scarcity has caused consumer prices to literally go parabolic. It acts as a quiet tax on all of us. Every single time you buy a laptop or a smartphone, you are paying more because memory manufacturers like Samsung are pivoting away from phones to chase those highly lucrative AI data center contracts. The shortage is so unbelievably severe right now that big tech executives are being referred to as DRAM beggars, literally pleading for memory allocations in South Korean hotel lobbies. Finally, Section 5, surviving the hype cycle and where exactly we go from here. So, with the financial black holes, the physical scaling limits, and the harsh reality of the hallucination tax out in the open, where does the broader economy actually go? Well, if we look at the famous Gartner hype cycle, it's pretty clear we are in a major transition. We're rapidly moving away from the peak of inflated expectations and sliding right down into the harsh, reality-checking trough of disillusionment. This is the phase where all that initial excitement wears off and businesses start demanding actual, profitable use cases. And even the biggest AI proponents are starting to admit it. Look at OpenAI's own CEO, Sam Altman. He recently noted, smart people get overexcited about a kernel of truth. Honestly, that is a stunning admission of a bubble. We have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on a technology that, frankly, still makes illegal moves in chess because it lacks a true internal model of how the physical world actually works. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative question to ponder today. Is AI a legitimate business revolution that simply needs more time to mature? Or are we witnessing literally the most expensive fake-it-till-you-make-it story in human history? The data we've examined today makes one thing crystal clear. True, lasting success in the future won't come from simply letting the technological vibes take over. It's going to require highly skilled implementation, rigorous financial discipline, and, most importantly, persistent human oversight. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this forensic investigation helped clarify exactly what's going on behind the scenes in tech right now. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you on the next one.